Good evening, y'all, and welcome to this week's edition of Double K's Classroom. I am Double K. Get your books out and your pens ready and step into my classroom. Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Double K, and I am back, B-A-C-K, back again here today to bring you Double K's Classroom. This week's Double K's Classroom is kind of a different take on what we used to do before. We used to have structured things where we would talk about the Niners, we would talk about the Warriors, we would talk about this, we would talk about that. I might have a guest on. But instead, this time around, like we did for the 100th episode, you might want to check that out on YouTube and on Spreaker. It was a pretty solid set of episodes, 3 interviews in each episode. So be sure to check it out. All right. So getting back to the new format. The new format will be kind of a hot topics type format where basically I will bring to you some of the hottest topics in sports, not sports entertainment, in sports since the last time we talked. Okay. Now, we haven't talked for a couple of months. Matter of fact, I believe we didn't talk till right as the football season was starting. So some of y'all may have heard about this man from California called Aaron Rodgers, former Cal Bears quarterback, former Chico State quarterback, damn good quarterback, Hall of Famer, one-time champion, etc. Aaron Rodgers has had an interesting couple of months, okay? No longer with Megan Fox, now with Shailene Woodley, engaged to her, okay? Did a 2-week stint as the host of Jeopardy. Was actually asked if he could do it more often. He had an off season filled with what ifs, maybes, thinking about kind ofs, etc. He wanted out of Green Bay. He made that known this offseason, something he had never done before. Did it right before the NFL draft. I don't know if he was trying to grab headlines. Don't know what's going on with Aaron there, but he did it right before the draft. The Broncos talked to the Packers about potentially getting a deal done on Rodgers. He doesn't show up to OTAs, continues to maintain that he wants to be out of Green Bay. All this drama, doesn't show up to OTAs. They says he does not, at a certain point in July, says he does not plan to play for Green Bay at all this season. Him and Green Bay get to talking. Okay. They get to talking. They bring him back in. And say, yeah. Told people on the 26th of July that he does want to play. Sorry, I misread that, but does want to play for Green Bay. He's asked about vaccinations on August 26th. This is very critical to what I'm about to talk about. He's asked about vaccinations. He's asked about vaccinations in a preseason press conference, and he says he is immunized. He elaborates further, saying there's guys on the team that haven't been vaccinated. He said, I think that's a personal decision. I'm not going to judge those guys. Okay. Packers start out the season rough, turn it around. Earlier this month, Aaron Rodgers ended up on the COVID-19 reserve list after a positive test. Reports reveal he is unvaccinated and is set to miss at least 10 days per the league's policies for unvaccinated players. On the Pat McAfee show, he ignites, what you're about to hear out of me. As the Packers QB rips the fact his personal health decisions are no longer private. All right, look, let's stop right there. I'm going to say this straight from the get-go. Aaron Rodgers, I love you. I followed you since you were at Cal. I thought you should have went number one and came to the San Francisco 49ers. I really did. But right now, I still love you as a football player. I've lost a lot of respect for you as a man. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is supposed to care whether or not little old Double K has respect for him as a man, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who feels like that. You lied. Point blank and simple. You lied. You could have very easily said, no, I'm not vaccinated, or that's a personal choice that I'd rather keep to myself. And I have way more respect for you, even though most people would have called you out and said, yeah, you're most likely not vaccinated. But I would have had a lot more respect for you. And then when I found out you lied, I lost a little respect. When I saw your response, I lost a lot. To try to put it on other people, to try to say, oh, basically, I didn't want to be a part of cancel culture because I'm not vaccinated. People were being attacked at that point. Just own it. I lied because I didn't want y'all in my personal business. I'd have had a lot more. Matter of fact, I'd have still gained a little bit of respect for the man had he just came out on the Pat McAfee show and said, look, it was a personal decision. I didn't feel like telling nobody. Bam, that's why I lied. I'll deal with the flack. Instead, you tried to backtrack and make it seem like anybody who got on you for lying was the problem, or what was a part of the problem, what was the issue. When in reality, it was your necessity to lie about what. It's not like he would be the only. It's not like it would be Aaron Rodgers standing alone as the only unvaccinated player in the NFL. No, Kirk Cousins isn't vaccinated. Carson Wentz isn't vaccinated. There are a multitude of other players who are not comfortable with the vaccination. You don't have to be vaccinated in order to play in the NFL. So really, this lie makes no sense at all. It doesn't. It makes no fucking. What were you trying to save yourself from? What were you trying to spare yourself? What? People talking bad about you? Guess what? People do that. There are people who talk good about Aaron Rodgers, and I can almost guarantee you, in every single news station that represents any other teams in the NFC South, the Lions, the Bears, the Vikings, they all talk shit about Aaron Rodgers. People talk shit about you. What the hell were you afraid of? You knew, and like I said, as a college educated, Berkeley educated man, you knew exactly what the fuck you were saying when you said you were immunized when asked about being vaccinated. It wasn't like you mistook the question. The question wasn't clear enough. Somehow now it's on the media to ask a follow-up question instead of on you to give a clear answer. You get to be James Bond and talk in double speak, but the media's got to ask follow-up questions to get more answers out of you. Nah, man, like fuck all that. Fuck all that. Like I said, my opinion may not matter as far as the big picture, as far as mass media, as far as Aaron Rodgers. He may never see this. He may never know. If you do know Aaron Rodgers, tell him. Fuck him and the horse he rode in on for that excuse. Love him as a football player, but fuck him as a man, and fuck the horse he rode in on for that fucking excuse. Own your shit, man. Just say I lied because I didn't want to deal with y'all. Tell the fucking truth. Don't try to backtrack this shit. Anyway, I digress and I move on. And cut that one off the list. Next up, it happened in Vegas, and look. Partway through this season, the Raiders are rolling. Derek Carr is looking like an MVP. They're beating teams. Shit, they managed to beat Baltimore in a weird fucking last minute game and managed to get the victory. But like, they're sitting at what, 5-4, second place in the AFC West. Las Vegas Raiders have had one of the weirdest fucking seasons ever. It started out good, like I said. They came out looking slow, and then it got a little bit better. Like I said, Derek Carr and MVP conversation, and then bam, they get hit with the John Gruden emails. For those of you who don't know what the John Gruden email situation was, it happened a while ago. It actually started a while ago when the NFL began an investigation into the culture of the Washington football team at their head office. Type of things being said, type of things being done. Think about kind of how the NBA is going to be investigating the Phoenix Suns owner for culture in the office. So they're being investigated by that. And through that investigation came a few emails from John Gruden, who at the time in which he sent the emails was not working for the Washington football team, but he sent them to Bruce Allen, the man that owned the team, or I believe still owns the team. John's emails hit, what was it? On October 28th, right? Email sent from John Gruden linked the communication dated July 21st, 2011 contained racist insult of executive director and NFLPA Players Association, DeMaurice Smith. DeMaurice, dumb with a capital D, has lips the size of Michelin tires, the email read. Gruden claimed that the insult was not racist and that he refers to liars as having rubber lips. All right, so I'm getting a lot of this from Sporting News, an article written by Jacob Chemiker, and what recently? Yeah, it had to be on the 14th of November. So John says some dumb shit. He says he doesn't remember the emails, but certainly will take accountability for it. It was on my email. He said he was upset about the lockout that was tweeted by Vic Tukor on October 8th. On October 10th, Gruden admitted to calling Roger Goodell an unspecified expletive in his email exchanges with Allen during the 2011 lockout. Let's see. Then it proceeded to go on. And New York Times drops a bombshell story revealing Gruden made in his email exchanges with Allen. He used sexist, homophobic, and misogynistic language in the emails and referred to Goodell as a F word for homosexuals and a clueless anti-football ladies' private parts. He also is using homophobic language, talking about other NFL owners and Michael Sam, the first openly gay player to be drafted into the NFL. Promptly the next day after this happens, or the same day that this happens, I assume Mark Davis just kind of went, you know what? Like, yeah. And went to Gruden and said, yeah, you got to go. One way or another, you got to go. Either we can call this a resignation and you can save some face, or we can call this a firing. But you ain't going to be here next week. I can almost guarantee you that was a part of the conversation that happened between Mark Davis and John Gruden. Well, John Gruden is now no longer the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Since then, he is now. At first, I gave him credit. I'll be honest. In talking to my friends, I gave John Gruden credit because after October 11th, he just kind of went away for a while. He just kind of disappeared. People stopped talking about him. He wasn't in the spotlight no more. It was done. There was a moment during the Raiders game the week after he resigned that they looked at his son who's still on the Raiders staff, and they're like, you got to feel sorry for the Nope. I feel no sympathy. That boy knew his daddy was like that. He knew his daddy was like that long before it ever came out in an email. You don't live in a house with a man like that and not know that he's like that he talks like that, because that's him talking naturally. That's him talking from the heart. And you can't tell me he ain't said some shit around his son. I'm not saying his son is like that. There are plenty of people who come from family members who say stuff like that, but don't. And because of seeing that all their life, they realize how wrong it is. but other than that, like, yeah, like he disappeared for a while. Then all of a sudden, uh dang, removes Gruden as president. I didn't know about that. On the 13th, where EA Sports removes Gruden as the Raiders coach in its popular video game Madden 22. Damn. Um, let's see. Mike Mayock, yeah, Nassib returns to practice. That's the dude I felt sorry for because he actually looked up to Gruden like as a head coach and as a mentor. And to find out that your mentor says shit like that when you ain't around, yeah, that kind of breaks your heart. Let's see. You come around to, let's see, November, I believe, like last week. Let's see. I'm trying to get to it. There it is. On November 12th, it is announced that John Gruden is suing the NFL for his firing or resignation, forced resignation from the Las Vegas Raiders. Really? Like I think there was some detrimental to the league stuff that the NFL could bring up, like as proper termination reasons. Like, I guess go ahead and do what you do. But in the midst of all this happening, Henry Ruggs decides to destroy his entire NFL career by by driving 156 miles per hour down the Vegas Strip and hitting a woman in her car and killing her and her dog. I don't even know what to say to all this. Like all the facts ain't completely out, but all the facts ain't dead either. But I know enough. Should I say I know enough of the facts that it's yeah, dude. Like really, me and my boy were just talking about this. Two different things. NFL should be partially responsible because you know what? The NFL, after all these times that this shit has happened, needs to develop a relationship with a nationwide car service. Somebody that these players, when they want to go out and they want to party, they can just call and they'll send a car to come pick them up. Exclusive relationship with the NFL. They separate. They set at each of their locations. They set aside 3 or 4 cars that are there to do nothing but take these players out when they want to go out and do something, and they want to go out and party and all that. Because real talk, like I don't see a reason why this shit keeps happening. And now this young man's life is over pretty much. He could end up doing 20 to 40 years in prison. DWI that resulted in a death. Not to mention the mental things he's got to deal with for the rest of his life. All because he decided to go out, drink, and get behind the wheel of a fucking car. I'm going to tell y'all a quick story. I used to work at a restaurant in where was it? Dublin, California. And in that restaurant, I was a restaurant manager. And I got to meet pretty much like all the top tier people that came in there. But most of all, I got to meet Eric Barton and Joey Porter. They were both a wide receiver and a linebacker for the Oakland Raiders at the time. Two stand-up guys. Amazing. Well, one day they come in with this other little short white guy. I have no clue who he was. I don't remember his name. No offense to him, but I don't. And they all sat down at my bar. Eric, the other guy, drinking tall beers all day. Joey's drinking water. Now, mind you, Joey normally goes to a couple tall beers, maybe a couple shots a night when he used to come through, but he wouldn't drive. They would be being driven. Um, I approached Joey. I'm like, yo, man, what's up? He's like, what do you mean? They drinking, you not. What's up? He walks me outside, shows me this beautiful Jaguar, and looks at me square in my eye and says, I just bought that new for $100,000+. There ain't no way in hell a sip of alcohol is crossing my lips before I get into that, before I get behind the wheel of that car. Sounds like a valid reason. Sounds like a valid reason to me. Now, yeah, everybody can say, oh, well, does that mean if it's a cheaper car, you drink and drive? Maybe. But all I know is that night, he chose not to. So at the end of the day, people, it was a choice for Henry Ruggs to get behind that wheel of that car. And it was a choice that changed his life. He was a star wideout for the Oakland Raiders, or for the Las Vegas Raiders. And now he's going to be another dude in jail. Your choices count, folks. Make them wisely. All right, last thing we're going to talk about here for the last couple of minutes of this half of the show is the 49ers have shown that they have the potential to be a solid squad if they put it all together right. They're 4-5. They're third in the NFC West. I think they're like 2 games out, or a game out of a playoff spot. They're like 3 games behind Arizona, and 2 games behind the Rams. But they beat up on the Rams in every possible way. Jimmy had a great game. Fucking 31-10, I believe, was the final score on that game. Like 31-10, shellacking. So I would say, like, yeah. Like, the Rams are a solid squad that knows how to get the job done. Okay. And we got it done against them. Makes me wonder why we couldn't get it done against Colt McCoy, but we got it done against the Rams. I see good things for this team. Like I said, the 17-game season is going to favor us because we could end up 9-7. We could end up 10-7, or sorry, not 9-7, 10-7, 9-8 is not beyond the reach. But we got Jacksonville coming up. We got Minnesota, which is a winnable game. Seattle deserves some fucking payback after the way they beat us early in the season. And then you got the Bengals, who are a good squad. We could just show up against them like we showed up against the Rams. And then we got the Falcons, who are beatable. The Titans is probably a loss, but you never know. If we're playing hot by then, you never know. The Texans should be an easy win. And then we got the Rams in SoFi to close out the season. And that could be for a playoff spot if we're playing hot. This team started out 2-4, 3-4, then 3-5, now 4-5. I think that they can get it done. Now, as far as whether or not Jimmy or Trey should start, check me out either on the blog or check me out one of the next episodes, and we'll talk about that. For right now, we're going to take a quick break, come back with some Kyrie Irving talk, some basketball talk, and we're going to also talk the hot start of the Golden State Warriors. Peace. You are listening to Double K's Classroom right here on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network. Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hey guys and gals, this is Double KK Double. What if I told you there was a show where you could listen to 2 avid fans talk pro wrestling, movies, and comics? Well, there is, and it's called the Cheap Pop Podcast with K Double and Alpha, and it's on every Sunday night at 5 p.m. on the 4Aces Presents Radio Network, Spreaker.com. Imagine this. It's Friday night. You're at home wishing you can listen to an amazing playlist of some of your favorite music from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Pop, rock, whatever. Then take out your favorite podcast listening device and tune in to KD5P, otherwise known as K-Double's Fifth Period Music Class. Every Friday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, K-Double brings you some of your favorite tunes live on the Four Aces Presents Radio Network on Live 365. And I'm back, y'all. What is up? What is up? All right. So, to say it right and to say it quick, Kyrie Irving didn't lie about whether or not he was vaccinated. And unfortunately, it's cost him 10, 12, 14, 16 games of this NBA season paychecks. Kyrie does not want to get vaccinated, which is a decision that I respect. Don't want to get vaccinated? Don't want to get vaccinated. But don't make yourself a martyr. Don't make yourself a victim. You're not being treated unfairly. You were given a choice, and you made a choice. Everybody is given that same choice, and they either choose to make it and get vaccinated, or they choose not to. Man up, own your choice. Take your lumps. Because at this point, I'm sick and tired of hearing how Kyrie is some kind of victim. He could get vaccinated. Millions have, and nothing have happened to us. I'm not saying that's a reason to, but he could, and he could get vaccinated and go be playing with his team, or he can sit at home and own his choice not to. So I've said it literally. I've said it 150,000 times to multiple different people. I could care less whether or not you get vaccinated. But if you choose not to get vaccinated, accept the consequences of your choice. Don't try to get around them. Don't get a fake vaccination passport. Don't just accept the fact, all right, I ain't gonna be going to many more concerts anymore. There are certain people that ain't gonna have me over at their house anymore. There may be certain people that don't talk to me anymore. There may be certain immunocompromised people who don't want to spend time around me anymore. Accept that. Just like the millions who have gotten a vaccine accepted any responsibility for whatever consequences happened after getting the vaccination. Own it. That's all I ask. Don't treat it like you're some kind of victim of society trying to control your body. Nobody's trying to control your body. We're just letting you know, hey, look, like if you want to be able to kick it with people in large groups and go to concerts, shit like that, you gotta get vaccinated. We can't risk you bringing COVID in there and killing a bunch of people. Now, if COVID comes into the concert anyway and it makes a bunch of people sick, guess what? If they're all vaccinated, then odds are none of them are going to die. And you take some cold medicine, relax, and stay home from work for a while and get better. But people won't be dying. I'm not a scientist. I don't claim to be. But I do know how it feels to have that shit and not be vaccinated, and it fucking sucked. So at the end of the day, if you don't do it, don't do it. If you do it, do it. But on both sides, don't be ashamed to accept the consequences of a choice. Every choice that we ever make has a consequence. Whether it's intended or unintended, every choice has a consequence. And this is just another choice, folks. Make it or don't. Anyway, last topic of the night is the Golden State Warriors. You heard me right. The Golden State Warriors. They are 12-2 this year under head coach Steve Kerr. Steph is cooking for another MVP season, I believe, averaging. They have a net rating of plus 13, number one in the NBA, a defensive rating of 99.5, which is number one in the NBA, and an offensive rating of 112.7, which is second in the NBA. Ooh, sorry about that. They're averaging 115 points a game. They're only averaging giving up 101. They know how to make things work. They added names like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody in the draft. They added names like Gary Payton II, Otto Porter Jr., what's the man's name? Chris Chizoza and Nemanja Bjelica this offseason in order to round this team out. And everybody knows their role. Everybody plays their role well. And everybody is contributing to this 12-1 start, not just Steph. With Steph, that was all him last year. Like, there were other people who popped up from time to time, but for the most part, it was all Steph. They still have Klay Thompson and James Wiseman coming back later this year. Like, yeah, this team is only going to get better. Let's see. Steph's averaging what? 28 a game. You got Andrew Wiggins behind him, averaging 18 a game. You got Jordan Poole behind him, averaging 17 a game. That's the big surprise. Damian Lee averaging 10 a game. You got Gary Payton Jr. averaging 6, an assist or a steal. He's got some blocks, and he's just dunking it like nobody's business. So when you watch what Steve Kerr is doing out there in San Francisco, you realize this can be another special year. It does kind of freak me out to get jinxed that they're talking about him so early in the season. But if they can continue this in any way when Klay gets on the court, it's sustainable through the playoffs. They've shown that when they went 73-9. This is a team that when it's on, it's on. And it was sort of starting to get on towards the end of last season, and they just carried that momentum by adding just the right players and going hard into this season. I'm very proud to be a Warriors fan, as you can see. So keep checking in with me as I continue to follow the Warriors, the Niners, what's going on with the A's and Bob Melvin. We'll talk about that on the next episode, as well as the San Francisco Giants manager winning NL Manager of the Year. We'll talk some baseball on the next episode of Double K's Classroom. Next week, you'll be hearing some KD5P. We'll be on Live 365. And I haven't quite decided what artists we're going to do yet, but you should listen in and find out, because the slate's been wiped clean, which means we can do anybody. So hope y'all enjoyed listening or viewing this episode of Double K's Classroom. I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Peace.